All right, so welcome to Q&A. This is your time to ask any questions about the course, your business, anything in general in regards to biz dev for a knowledge-based company. And we have a few questions that came in advance. I'm going to tackle those first. But then we also have a few people that joined live who would like to just come on screen and just have a regular conversation as opposed to just typing to me the whole time. So let me get to these questions that came in first. And then I'll go ahead and pull the people on stage, as you would say on Clubhouse, and we'll just talk live. So the first question I had come in was, why don't you post on Twitter that often? It's just not my thing. I know it's effective for a lot of people. And in fact, I posted once back in like 2019 and I got a speaking gig from it, which is cool. But nothing else really happened since then. And also, I think you're normally better off focusing on two channels as opposed to three or four. And right now, those two channels for me are LinkedIn and Instagram. But I have had a lot of success on Clubhouse too. So we'll see where that fits into my schedule. I think once my kids are back in daycare and in school, I'll have more time for stuff like that. Right now, I have a limited number of hours, like a lot of you do, to do anything for myself during the day. So that's why I'm not necessarily in Clubhouse as much as I would like to be. But I've been in some really cool rooms with just like a small amount of people that give a lot of value. So I think one challenge with Clubhouse is a lot of people want to be influencers. Like, oh, I want to get a bunch of followers, a bunch of people in the room, so on and so forth. Sure, go for it if you want, but you might exhaust yourself trying to seem like you're someone as opposed to being someone who's getting value from the platform. So on my end, that's my goal, is not to be an influencer, but just to get value from it. And where I've also seen a benefit, and I suggest this as well, is to sit in rooms that your target audience would attend and just listen with no intent whatsoever to get called up on stage, as they say, but just to listen to the conversations. And then after that, if you want, the people that are asking these questions, you can go ahead and go to their Instagram profile or their Twitter profile, because it's normally in their Clubhouse profile, and then message them. Hey, Dennis, I saw you had a question about this. By the way, quick tip. Or, hey, Lauren, I saw you had a question about this. I have this one-page business plan that might help you. Here's a link to it. So you're going there, and again, you're learning. It's for educational reasons. But if someone has a question you can answer, hell, go ahead and message them on whatever platform you feel comfortable with. For me, obviously, it would not be Twitter, as per the previous statement I made. But I think that's how a lot of us can win without exhausting ourselves trying to seem like, oh, I want to get a bunch of followers, so on and so forth. So curious to know if anyone here is on the platform as well, but that's how I see myself using it going forward. And like I said, Twitter's just not my thing. I know it's valuable, I'm okay without it. Another question is, how long does it take you normally to write a blog? It depends on the length of it, but let's say you're going for 1,000-word blog. That would normally take me about an hour to actually write, but I've had the ideas for it in my head probably for the past week or so. And then when I sit down to write, it's just, me expressing that. But because I think the question I'm really hearing is, how do you do it? How do you do it quickly? If you're having a challenge with that, what you can do is what's called a listicle. And that's when you just do a list of things. So 3 ways to improve your insurance business, whatever it is. Introduction. Hey, it's really important to improve. It's competitive these days, so on and so forth. I feel your pain, right? Make sure you acknowledge the challenge they're going through. And then here's my top 3 tips. Tip 1, 2, 3, and then conclusion, whatever it is. That's 5 paragraphs. It won't be challenging for you to get 1,000 words from that. But then beyond that, you won't feel like you're writing like a novel, right? Because it's like reason 1, 2, 3. And each of those 3 reasons could actually stand alone by itself as a social media post in a more truncated version, should you choose to. But I would start there, or a how-to approach. So how to make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. I'm using that for an example. Step 1, get the bread out. Step 2, get the peanut. You know how to make a sandwich. I'm not going to go into it. But you know what I mean? Because then at the same time, you're not trying to be super creative. You're just providing value, and you might not get stuck as much as you might as if you're trying to do something more like thought opinion type content where there's this long flowing narrative. So that's what I would strongly suggest. and I saw a question come in here. Ever thought of dictating it? It cuts times by 25%. Yeah, Dennis. So I didn't even know this until one of my clients told me, I think 2 weeks ago, that even Google Docs has an option to dictate now. So you just go to, I think it's like Format or something like that, and you can dictate your blog. And to your point, it will be a lot faster. I think you'll speak more naturally too, because sometimes when we're typing, we feel like we have to like sound smarter or whatever. But when you're talking, you're just like, okay, I'm going to talk. One of my buddies, Dennis, actually wrote a book like that. He wrote a book like that in a week. What he did was he just he dictated it and did it in Google Docs. And every night there was an editor who would get the content he created and edit it. So it'd be edited for him by the morning, and he would just keep on going and going and going. He wrote a book, it was like 200 pages long in a week doing that. So on your end, if you want to edit yourself, cool, that's fine. But it just removes that block that we have sometimes in regards to actually typing. So yeah, I think it's a good idea. Another cool tool for that is otter.ai, OTTER.ai. And some companies are even doing that for their webinars now. So as you're talking, it's going to be transcribing in real time. Especially if you're, hard of hearing or anything like that, it's beneficial too. Dennis, you're saying you use Descript. Descript saved me today, and I'll explain why. So with Descript, and Dennis, you already know this, I'll explain it for everyone else. You can upload an MP4 or an MP3, so a video or an audio file, and it will transcribe it for you, right? So you see all the, you know what transcribing means. You can do that. You can find all the ums and just remove those, which for me is a bonus because I have that challenge still. But Dennis, here's what I was using it for today. I did an interview with someone, and I want to slice it up into 3 different sections, like the 3 arcs. So I'm using this tool to see, okay, when do we talk about LinkedIn? All right, when do we talk about posting blogs? When do we talk about so on and so forth? So you're just doing a Control F for that section in the video, and that's how I'm going to find it and then give that to my editor. It'll be so much easier to find the timestamps instead of just listening to myself go through the whole interview again. So that's why I think Descript is amazing. And when I logged in today, I noticed that they now have a video editing tool built into it as well. I've not used it yet, but I'm pretty excited because it'll let you edit videos and add captions and titles. I'm not sure how robust it'll be. I'll let you know. But hell, I mean, if you want something basic, that might be a good way to just start editing your own videos with Descript. So yeah, pretty exciting. It's one of those tools that I'm definitely glad I have. It saved me so much time when I'm writing articles, because sometimes my articles, I'm interviewing someone like you, and we're talking for 45 minutes, but it has to get condensed down to 1,000-word article. So if I can use Descript to say, oh, when did Dennis say this? Oh, cool, got it, and I'm good to go. So yeah, it's a really good tool. Next question, do you recommend using LinkedIn Stories? So LinkedIn Stories are relatively new. When did they come out? I don't know. And from what I've seen, not a lot of people are really viewing them just yet, because I use them because it's a free shot to get some content out. But what I've been doing is just taking my Instagram stories and then posting those as LinkedIn stories. So I had an Instagram story recently about my lead magnet, one of my lead magnets, which is the 1-page business plan. And apparently there was a typo in the autoresponder. This woman said, hey, one of my coworkers went to your webinar you did with Honeybook. It was amazing. And I signed up for your business plan, and I noticed there's a typo in your autoresponder. So I was like, okay, cool, thank you. And I realized that was a good example to tell people to, kind of get out of your own way and don't be afraid to make mistakes, move fast and break things. So that was my post on Instagram. I'm like, hey, someone told me there was a mistake, but look, here's all this great stuff they said about me too. Right. But you'll never, get to learn from your mistakes and get this praise if you're holding back because you don't want to look foolish, perhaps. So that was my Instagram story, and it got a decent amount of engagement. So I'm like, oh, hell, I might as well put it up on LinkedIn. And that's what I did the next day. So I do recommend just trying that and seeing how it goes for you. And like, again, the views aren't super high right now, but shoot your shot, because since it seems like not that many people are engaging with them, even if the views are low, you're still taking advantage and getting the first mover advantage by putting your content out there. So I would advise you all to try it out. All right. And then last question I'll grab here is, how many lead magnets should you have? So again, a lead magnet is some kind of valuable piece of information that you would exchange for someone's email address. It could be a PDF, it could be a guide, it can be like an ebook, whatever you want to use. More than one is my response, because you don't know what's good if you don't have something to compare it to, right? If you don't have, this ebook versus this like checklist or whatever, you don't know which one's working better. Or even if it is two guides, right? Which guide is better? So more than one, but just get used to turning them around a lot quicker, because sometimes again, perfection is the enemy of progress. We take forever to make things perfect because we don't look foolish. And then instead of taking a week to get it done, you take 6 weeks, and you missed out on all those leads. And it's funny, I was thinking to myself, wow, I wonder if that would have converted better if I didn't have a typo in the autoresponder. But I'm like, at the same time, like I know I would have missed out on a lot of volume in general if I took longer to get it out, right? So it's like there's a trade-off between trying to make things presentable and just trying to get them out the door quickly too. So that's my thought on that. But yeah, the answer is more than one, and then test, right? Test is something that's more timely, like, hey, 3 tips going into 2021. Another could be more evergreen, like here's everything you need to know about whatever product or service you're referring to. So that'll be my response. But what I want to do now is, Dennis, if you're cool jumping on stage. Actually, no, Lauren, we'll have you go first because you you said you want to go first. So I'm going to promote you to a panelist. Yeah. And then whenever you're ready, we can start chatting. Lauren, how are you?
Cool. Hey, I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. Where are you calling in from?
Chicago, where I'm pretty sure it's freezing, really freezing out there, but I'm in here.
Yeah, I used to live outside of Chicago in Hoffman Estates.
Don't ask me what direction that is. I have no directional sense. That's fun fact about me. I can go in the wrong direction for quite some time.
If you know Schaumburg, that area.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, that was like years ago.
I haven't been here long. I'm originally from New York Metro.
Oh, okay. So we did the reverse.
Yeah, pretty much.
Awesome.
I guess you couldn't take the cold. I couldn't take the heat.
Yeah. That's a good point. So give us some background. What do you do? Who do you do it for?
My background, like I said, New York Metro. So born and raised New Jersey, and kind of took a really untraditional route. And I think that's kind of like a theme of like just not doing what's expected. So didn't go to college out of high school. I stayed at my part-time job, grocery store, because it was right before the recession. Mm-hmm. And I was like, people need food. I want a job and health insurance. I stayed there for 10 years before taking my management consulting job with, global firm, 200,000 international employees.
That's quite a leap. Let's stop for a second. So you went from working at a grocery store to management consulting.
I had an internship in between.
Okay.
I guess. Climb the social ladder. Yes. Really about making a lot with a little, which is why I'm here weekly, because anyone not sitting in on these Q&As is missing out. So that's kind of like my life story, which is why when I landed in this internship in between grocery store and sitting next to a Harvard MBA, I made a lot with a little, right? So lost my train of thought, trying to be funny. That's my
I was entertained.
Is I'm really good at solving problems and doing
Mhm.
the behind the scenes stuff, like putting in 10 years at a grocery store, because I know in 2020 it's going to go nice with my supply chain degree and everything else I've done. So, like, my point being is, um, I'm like really ready to step into my zone of genius. Really been doing a lot of work on that. I would say last week I was like, oh my God, what is my zone of genius? And I think now I kind of get it. So like that's the my background. And I guess like my week background, my year background is I've been unemployed on this like rampant volunteerism since leaving or getting laid off from my consulting job. Uh, I don't know. I don't know how to piece it together. I have a weird story. I have a weird background. Um, and I guess I haven't really prepared to give it to Terry Rice Consulting or
No,
um,
you're fine. I mean,
yeah,
I think now's a good time to think about that, right? How do you want to express yourself to the world? Like, what is your personal branding statement, which I think is in module 2. So what do you want to be doing like a year from now? Like, what kind of work do you want to be doing with what kind of clients? What does that look like to you when you think about it?
um, I think more. I mean, it gets more people are they know where their food is coming from. So like as we saw, like food pantry lines this
Mhm.
past year, right? How hard it was for people to just feed themselves. That is improved um, through all different means, through like growing food, the food supply chain, restaurants. I'm not quite sure where I fit in there because I really don't
Mhm.
have too much industry experience. I'm very industry agnostic, doing a lot of like indirect service sourcing. So like corporate travel programs, indirect labor, category management, procurement type of stuff. But like my passion is food. And so like I'm trying to I can connect them all. I doubt myself too much.
As you were talking, it's interesting that you say you doubt yourself because as you were talking, I'm like, this is a brilliant idea, and I'll tell you why. There's this restaurant around the corner from me here in Brooklyn called Mayfield that my wife and I love. We went there for our engagement party. We're there as often as we can, and every time we go there, we want to get a steak. And like they have these porterhouse steaks. Sometimes they have them, sometimes they don't because they only order X amount per week. So it kind of depends how the week goes. But during COVID, they're like, we can't bring these in anymore because we can't buy them at the volume
Right.
needed to get a discount because we don't know how many we're going to sell. So that's the problem. So when you're saying your goal is to fix supply chains for individuals, for restaurants, for whatever it is, I don't think that uncertainty is going to go away anytime soon. Right. So maybe now you're saying, okay, every steakhouse in Brooklyn, let's all band together. Let's buy these in bulk. You get 10 steaks, you get 5, you get 10, that's 25. But now we can have a discount on these. And I'm solving that problem as this supply chains and distribution expert. So that's kind of how I'm thinking about it. Same thing with co-ops. Like there's a co-op here in Brooklyn. They've been, I mean, there's several obviously. They've been short on like bananas because again, it's like you can't order enough volume to make it worth it. You're onto something. And the
It's so
thing is like,
broken.
well, you're onto something, and there's unfortunately a real pain that people realize now that they might not have realized a year ago. And that's where your 10 years working in the grocery industry comes in handy because you're like, hey, I know what it's like, when you're short on something and customers are saying, where is this? Then you're like, crap, now they're leaving. They came for the orange, but they normally buy something else that's more expensive too. You're losing out on money, right? Or they went to this restaurant for the broccoli, but since you didn't have the broccoli, now they're not getting the steak either. So that's your messaging. You're so authentic in the way you're communicating this, and you can say, "I want to help you solve that problem and solve their problems too," because they're trying to get this food. What I would do to make this easier is try to find an example of a similar service and then you can be another entrant in that market. You don't have to reinvent something right now, but you can make it your own. Maybe it's locally in the Chicago area, right? They don't have it yet, but you can do it there. And I just want to pause. How does this feel as I'm just kind of, building this mini business plan?
Um, Intense because it's like just one tiny piece of the pie. So like yes, and but more importantly, XYZ, right? And like so it kind of triggers this like distraction of like what you're describing is zone of competence. Um and that's a struggle right now is like let me get to my genius, which is like I think like bigger, but anyway.
Well, are you still trying to define what that is, the genius part?
Or not bigger, but like I don't know. Like when I think supply chain, okay, so like restaurants, right? That where's that beef coming from? Probably not anywhere close to the restaurant in Brooklyn. Like I would be more effective like upstream, downstream. I don't know. I'm just kind of bouncing ideas here. How does it feel? It's a little overwhelming. Like I said, like it's easy to get distracted. My background being in like consulting is like 6-month project. Yes.
Yeah.
Gimme. And so now that I really need to get serious about the long plan, I think it's overwhelming. So
Yeah, and I like the fact that you're going even bigger with the at a higher level in regards to this program that you want to put together. But I'm going to bring this up, and it's going to sound unpleasant at first, but hopefully it makes sense when I'm done. Either way, you're going to suffer. You're going to suffer either way. You're going to suffer for the next 6 months figuring out what the hell you want to do and putting a lot of hard work into making it happen, going through a lot of rejection, a lot of cold emails, a lot of trial and error before it starts to work. Or you're going to suffer even longer term by not taking this chance, by not fully committing to it, and just settling for something else for the next X years. So the cool thing is you get to choose how you suffer. Do you suffer for the next 6 months, or do you suffer for the next X years? But there's no avoiding this whatsoever. It's going to be challenging. And for me, I would choose the first option, but that's the stoicism me talking. It's going to be challenging either way, but
that's great advice. Cause I have like this email I have to respond to. That's like, I'm great at the behind the scenes. Like I'm good at like tasks and projects and a small team dynamics. And I think the moment, I don't know. So yeah, I guess I'm going to choose to suffer a little less in response to this email. This email being like, I mentioned last week, like my ideal audience that I passed up on, right? A little background story. There's this annual conference for my ideal audience, and they had open applications to present. It's really cool. Breakout rooms and digital and get to meet people in your network. And I was just didn't have the time to do it. Or did I? I don't know. Passed up on that. And then I just got an email today from their communications person because I signed up for their newsletter. And so like, that's like a perfect lead. And I need to act on that because yeah.
What goes through your head when you're about to act on it, then you don't?
What goes through my head? I'm just not prepared. I don't know. I guess too many things, which is why like it's more. I think that's why like starting to use the CRM has been really helpful. Like actually just like start using the tools like you're doing it, because if you're not like, you can get leads, you will get leads and not be ready for it, not be prepared for it. So just start using the CRM. And I think that's, I guess that's kind of how I feel about it, is like retreat to my comfort zone of systems.
Well, that's not a bad idea as long as you take action on them. So let's get some accountability here. What are you going to do by this time next week to take action towards what we talked about, right?
Ooh.
There's these opportunities you can still reply to from what I can tell. Can you commit to doing that?
I'm going to. I'm gonna have a plan for what my role is at this conference, which is the last Friday, Saturday of the month. So this time next week would give me a week out to the conference. And they could probably use some help. And they're the people that I've wanted to work with. It's like, I've just been waiting.
You're speaking at this conference, correct?
No. But I probably could if I wanted to. I don't know. I don't know if they need speakers. I could directly ask the communications. That's what you want me to do. Ask if they need speakers.
I do. Yeah, please do, because if you do, if they do, what I would say is give a presentation, right? Something brilliant, whatever it is. And then anyone in the audience say, hey, if you have any questions about this, go to my website and maybe you can offer like some kind of discovery call about their, how you can help them, whatever it looks like, but give them an excuse to follow up with you. That's where those lead magnets come in handy if you have them. And if you have the time and a website, just make a micro page or like a landing page just for the event. Say, hey, everyone, go to bit.ly/Lauren. You would not get that bit.ly. Go there and download the deck. You can download these resources, so on and so forth. And then from there, you're doing lead generation at the same time.
Yeah, I got a lot of work done. Like after, I don't know, a light bulb went off. So I have like my domain name. There aren't too many Lauren Tweedales, so.
Awesome. And I want to remove a challenge.
That's a good
Just
plan.
in case you don't have you can't have a landing page or a website done, use a Google form. That's fine. Say, hey, go to this bit.ly. It's going to redirect to a Google form. You're going to ask for their email address, and then you'll eventually send them this stuff through like ConvertKit or MailChimp or whatever. But we're removing excuses, right? Oh, I don't have time to make a website. Don't make a website. Fine. I'll let you off the hook for that one. Just do a Google form. But either way, let's get it done.
That's a good point. I've used Google Forms when, like I said, I haven't had the spotlight and it's the whole branding issue. So just get over that hump.
There you go. If you need a logo, go to Taylor Brands. You need a logo for like $10. Get like an L and a T and you're done. Like that's it.
Yeah, cool. I got to do that. But that's another question I have. I don't want to take up time. It was really helpful because I'm going to do that now. But like just narrowing down my lead magnets actually is another struggle. I don't know. I'm thinking on like starting a blog for like Pączki Day, which is like the Polish donut Fat Tuesday next week. I don't know. Too many ideas.
How is that related to a lead magnet?
It's like my passion, food, like restaurants, the restaurant industry, I guess bakeries in Chicago. I don't know. I could talk about food forever. Or like do supply chain stuff forever. So like my zone of genius is between there. So I don't know if like, I don't know. My point was like, I guess I did a brain dump of lead magnets. Like I took your triangle. I don't know if you have a name for that.
Oh yeah. Yep. I know what you're talking about.
Yep. And listed them all out and then just started putting ideas in there, like blog entries, interviews, workbooks. And I think narrowing those down is, you recommended a landing page with just like one lead magnet. Do you have a suggestion for an easy one that
If you have
a
like,
blog is probably too ambitious if I haven't started it.
I don't think a blog's a good lead magnet either. I think you want to solve one high impact problem they have right now. Best ways to do this, best ways to do that, 5 mistakes to avoid with this. Focus on that. I don't know if content would be the lead magnet right now. It would have to be something that's more punchy and where there's like some kind of transformation at the end. So I would focus on that.
Okay. That makes sense.
All right. So you got a lot of homework for next week,
I
but we're going to
do.
bring Dennis up now and he's going to hold you
Thank you.
accountable as well. So.
Oh, true.
So,
Well, we'll all be accountable. So
yeah.
thank you.
Dennis, I'm going to, yeah, sure thing. It was fun talking to you. So Dennis, I'm going to promote you. Lauren, I'm going to demote you so we don't have 3 cameras going on. So don't take it personal, but here we go. So here we go. Right. Dennis, how's it going, man?
I think I'm in. Yeah.
How are you?
It's good. What about you?
I'm good, man. My daughter's spring break starts tomorrow and she's off to the 22nd. So I don't have to go to kindergarten for like 10 days.
Is kindergarten open?
It's remote. It's a remote kindergarten,
yeah.
But that means I have to sit with her between 8:30 and 12:30 every day and proctor her. So I can't like get as much work done.
Yeah, I got it. It's fine. You'll find a way. I know.
Yeah. How are you doing?
Good. And so, yeah, for the background, I used to be in the food industry and I will never go back.
What aspect of the industry?
What?
What aspect of the food industry were you in?
Oh, I used to be a pastry chef.
Oh, that's amazing. All right.
Yeah, in France. I mean, I'm from France. So I used to be a pastry chef, and I did it for immigration purpose, I would say. But I used to be a carpenter before that, so kind of made the switch to whatever. Yeah, I think last time we spoke, I was going on my VA's ID for content creator, and so I went a bit further, and there is a couple things I'm working toward. There is the VA for content creator. The whole ID behind was to have I don't know if you know the website autogrow.io.
No.
The whole purpose is they have a team. You pay a monthly fee. I think anywhere from 500 to $2,000, and they do anything for you one by one. Like you want a landing page, okay? You connect. You say, hey, I want a landing page. They do it for you. You need a lead magnet. They do it for you, and kind of like that. Kind of the background, I would say, of the things, and that was kind of something I was looking into, but I don't have true background or experience in it, and so on the side I was also trying to make something with my background in the food. So I interviewed chefs and a private chef in the industry, and it's kind of all over the place. I mean, none of them want the same things or whatever, so I don't know if there is really something I can do out of those informations. That's kind of both routes I'm following right now.
Got it. So just to for everyone's clarification, give us a reminder of what you do and who you're doing it for. I think that'll help with the context.
That's the thing. I don't have I would say an offer or an audience really narrowed down yet, and that's what I'm working toward. It's product market fit.
Got it. But it is going to be. It sounds like in the food service area.
Naturally, I'd like to do it more in we'll call that marketing, online business. I like anything automation, artificial intelligence, and this type of stuff. Really, I like search engine optimization, ads. I really like the background stuff, but I feel like nowadays everybody and their brother, they have a marketing agency in their pocket. Like something. I have a marketing agency. So I don't really know how to differentiate it, but that's what I'd like to do, either for content creators, I would say, because content creators, everybody's a content creators nowadays. Either it's a blog, YouTube, or social media. Everybody kind of needs some background help. And I was going more toward chefs because I have a background in the food industry, so I know more precisely their needs.
Okay, let me ask you a question. Do you speak more than one language?
Yeah.
What languages do you speak?
French.
Okay, French and English. Okay. I'm bringing this up because of this. Like my background is digital marketing.
Mhm.
And I took a digital marketing class like 10 years ago at New York University. And the instructor brought in this guy who had a search engine marketing agency, but he focused on helping like dentists and other healthcare professionals
Mhm.
get more clients who spoke Mandarin, because there's a big Mandarin population
Okay.
here in Brooklyn. So people that are of Chinese descent, most likely.
Mm.
And he didn't speak Mandarin whatsoever, but he hired a bunch of digital marketers to translate his ads into Mandarin. Therefore, he was just crushing it on Google Ads, because anyone who spoke Mandarin, he was Googling "need dentist in Brooklyn," his ads were the only ones that showed up.
I see what you mean.
Do you see a world where you're doing translations into French for organizations who are doing digital marketing? Because like my wife, she speaks Spanish, and she can tell when the translation is horrible from English to Spanish because it's not a native speaker that's doing it. Have you explored anything like that where it's like, okay, my passion is digital marketing. You have a blog maybe that's in English. You want to write that in French. Okay, I can translate it. And I also know the digital marketing world enough to know how to tweak it and, you know, the context around it. Has that ever piqued your interest at all?
Yeah, actually, that has been a long battle too. Like, oh, do I have a competitive advantage with my native language? And the only thing that blocked me was thinking, oh, when I used to live in France, we don't have the same, let's say, salary level. Like, the salary that I used to make in France, that was enough for me for a living. It's not the same as in US, so we don't have the same buying power, I would say, in France. But friends that live in US, yeah, that could be interesting. That's not something I thought about. So it might be worth exploring. Yeah.
Well, it could be a US based company that is just doing business in France.
Mhm.
And by that, I mean like some company that has expensive problems. So finance or, you know, something like that, where it's like, it's not like they're selling socks. They're like,
Yeah,
no,
for
we
sure.
need to successfully translate this into French. Or even little things like maybe they have a podcast that's here that's done in English, but they also want to get at least a transcript done in French or something like that. And I'm spitballing here, but I feel like you have a unique advantage to the point where you're, you know, exploring this digital marketing world, and you also have French as your native language. That definitely is, you know, a superpower in this case, because I've seen it work here in Brooklyn at least.
Okay. Would you say it's more advantageous because there is a lot of translation service, to be honest, like Rev.com that are like pretty cheap for those kind of stuff that are known. And I've even tried to join most of them when I was trying to meet ends, but it's packed. Like nobody wants French speaker anymore. So do you think that by being outside of those platforms by myself, it would be more interesting?
If this is something you want to pursue, absolutely. And what I would do is almost in jest show how some of those translations didn't work too well. Like you can say,
Mhm.
like, here's what they put in this, here's what they got back when they paid Rev $20 a month, but here's how it sounds to a French speaker. It's like if you're
Mhm.
saying like, put this hat on, and they said it wrong, like you basically said put the hat in instead of put the hat on, like whatever makes
Yeah, I see
sense.
what you mean.
But like just showing why you'd want to have a premium service, or even maybe the examples they're giving would not fit in the French culture, right? If you're saying, oh, when you're walking your dog down the street, you would say we would, I'm just pretending, you would say we would never actually do that. So the
Mm.
whole context of this example is wrong. Like
Yeah.
that's what I'm trying to see. And what I would do is I would research, are there premium translators out there? Not someone who's working for a Rev
Okay.
in a different language. Maybe it's German, maybe it's whatever. But I was listening to this podcast. I think it was called Smart Passive Income,
Oh yeah,
and there's this.
fascinating.
Yeah. There's
Yeah.
this one gentleman they were referring to. His superpower was he spoke English and German.
Okay.
So that's when you said you speak French. It's like German and French are, you know,
Mhm.
obviously right next to each other.
It's the same
I was
for
like,
American. It's Europe.
yeah, 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 pretty much. Um, that's what I would explore, because you know, there's people here in Brooklyn that are sending their kids to bilingual school to learn French by design, because it's obviously, you know, something they're interested in. So I would try to double click on that and see how you can make that help you stand out more.
Okay, that's a good idea. I'll explore.
But even with digital marketing, you can still find success there. It helps to be more niche. So maybe you're doing just SEO, or maybe you're just doing like, if you want to get really very particular. Okay, I'll give you an example.
Mm-hmm.
I teach at this school called General Assembly,
Mm-hmm.
and they have all these different classes on coding, digital marketing, business, and they were doing some kind of like mini conference almost. And they reach out to me and they're like, Terry, do you know someone who's an expert at Instagram shopping ads? And I'm like, let me look around. I couldn't find anyone, not Instagram ads, Instagram shopping ads, which is a bit more niche.
Yeah.
And like, yeah, we can't find anybody either. And I'm like, well, hell, if I was unemployed right now, I would go become an expert at Instagram shopping ads, because it is a new-ish feature of the platform. But any company that's doing Instagram ads, let's say e-commerce, you could reach out and say, I know you're doing this, but are you also doing Instagram shopping ads? Oh, we're going to, but it seems so complicated and like it's just a mess. And we're busy enough as it is right now.
Mm-hmm.
We don't want to try something new with a client and run the risk of losing them because we're concerned. That's when you come in and you say, okay, cool. Well, I have this option for you, right? What I'm going to do is for the first month, I'm going to set up those Instagram shopping ads. For the second month, I'm going to train you on how to do them. And in the third month, I'll consult you more hands-off on how to continue doing it going forward. That's going to be $20,000 and we can start next week, right? So I'm giving you an example of a very niche discipline within digital marketing that solves a real problem. But the problem is sometimes when you're a practitioner, you don't have time to go learn all this new stuff because you're like, I'm busy enough trying to like, take care of this and my kids and whatever, right?
Priorities. It's always priorities. But yeah, I know it's sometimes hard. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's where I think you can find like your wedge. And it's like, look, I only do this. You want someone who's a general practitioner? Go hire them. That's fine.
Mm-hmm.
I do this. I train companies on how to do this. And maybe you're saying like, I will do it short term for you, but I don't do it long term because that way you're not doing account management forever. You're saying, I will train you. I will empower you. And look how much more money you can make from your existing clients if you also offer this service. Right? Because you're saying, no, they can't do this. That way they're not spending as much money. You're not making as much money in fees. If I empower you to do that, what's that worth to you over the course of the year? $30,000, $40,000, $100,000? I'm only charging 30. Mm-hmm. So you'll make that back this year and the next year and the next year and the next year and the next year.
It's interesting. I feel like the skill, it's not that the skill doesn't matter. Skill can always be learned and those type of stuff. But it's more, for example, you were giving the example of doing that for e-commerce because that's probably the one that need them the most to do those type of ads. I feel like it's more complicated to get in that industry than learning the skills they need. You know what I mean? Especially e-commerce. It's like everybody wants to either work in e-com or a SaaS company nowadays.
Yeah. No, it is. It's competitive, but there's also a lot of them there that you can choose from. And that's how you stand out. You're like, look, I don't do any of the extra stuff. I'm like, this is all I do. So if you want someone who's really good at this, it's this. And then maybe to get started, you work for free for one client. Mm-hmm. You're like, hey, do it for free. And I just ask for a testimonial when I'm done, and that way I can build my business.
For sure.
But what other aspects of digital marketing in general are you interested in? Is like any kind of like website design, app design, does any of that seem interesting?
Design is not really my stuff.
Okay.
The eye for the colors and typography and no, I'm more like a data, like Google Analytics and Search Console and SEO, keyword research, really the nerd stuff.
Got it. Okay.
And even for that, it's hard to tie it to benefits. Like I could say, okay, if you hire me for a year, I collect enough data to make you 1.52 times return on investment the year after, but I need to collect the data first.
Yeah. Let me just tell you another story. So back when I did digital marketing consulting, what I used to do were audits. I would audit companies for like a private equity company before they would acquire it or pay to acquire like a new company. I would audit the company from a digital marketing perspective to make sure they weren't going to buy a company that like the books were juiced or like they were not sustainable. Because like right now they're doing 20 million a year, but I could see like, hey, it looks like this is actually on the decline and this is messed up, or here's how much opportunity there is, so on and so forth.
How did you get there? I didn't even know that existed.
Well, I didn't make it up, but like a private equity company approached me for that. Wow. They're like, hey, we kind of like this like internal like digital marketing guru who can help us with this stuff. What do you think? And I'm like, sure. So the first audit I did for them was garbage. It was just like unorganized. Like they're like, can you make this like a format we can like compare things to? Like you don't have like a number between 1 and 10 how they're doing. You're just like writing stuff. So I'm like, okay, let me try again. And I redid it to the point where it's like, okay, you got a 70 out of 100 on your Google Analytics implementation because you don't have Search Console set up and you're not tracking like on-click statements for buttons. Like, you know how this stuff works. So I'm not going to go into it. But I would make this rating system and I would say, okay, to get to a 10, you have to fix all this stuff. Or when it came to paid channels, I would say, you know what? And you'll appreciate this. I'm like, their search engine marketing, campaigns look good, but 80% of their revenue is coming from branded keywords. They still have not learned how to convert a cold audience with generic terms. And in fact, they're actually cannibalizing their SEO because all their branded keywords are the ones that are driving revenue. I'm like, there's a problem here. They don't know how to find new customers. And that's what I would call out in the audit. Right. So you already know how to do this stuff. But what the thing is, like what Lauren was talking about, that funnel I have, sometimes you could take a skill you have, which is your core skill, and turn it into a profit multiplying skill if you solve more expensive problems. If you save a private equity company $40 million by pointing out that the majority of the converting keywords in their paid search campaigns are branded, that's pretty valuable. Yeah. Even though for you, you're like, that's basic. That's it. But for them, they're like, no, dude, like we don't know this stuff. So I would think about that too. What paid channels would you say you can do audits for outside of paid search?
Mostly Facebook audience metric, CPC, PPC, not that much, but mostly Facebook and Instagram.
Paid Facebook?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, do that. You're good. Like, yeah, just do audits. Like one of my clients, he used to do like freelance digital marketing. Well, he still does, but he's charging like $30 an hour. And I'm like, that's way too low. Like you can't do that anymore. I told him, start selling audits for every channel, charge between $1,500 and $2,000. And he's like, no one's going to pay that much. I'm like, do it. I'll help you write the email. And it worked. So what he's doing now is he'll do an audit as the initial sale. Hey, $1,500, I'll tell you what's wrong, what to fix, so on and so forth. And then if you want to become a client, sure, I can do that too. But he can do those audits in about 4 or 5 hours, and he's charging between $1,500 and $2,000 for it. So that's pretty cool.
Pretty cool. It's interesting.
Yeah, I would highly go ahead. Sorry.
As it's a really a world I'm not from, it's nice to have another point of view from someone. That's it.
Yeah. Now the benefit of those audits is, I'll say it this way. The downside about doing digital marketing account management is the client's always asking you questions like, hey, how come our revenue's down? How come our clicks are down? Yeah. Hey, can you change this ad? And like over the weekend, you might be enjoying your life and you get this email, hey, what's going on? You're like, I don't know, I'm watching TV, So it's like, if you just do these audits, you do your work, you leave. And the thing is, like you just said, the problem is waiting to get all that data. It takes a year to get all this data. Mm-hmm. Not if you're auditing an existing campaign, right? And when someone has a problem, when they're already feeling the pain that they're spending thousands of dollars per month on their ads and they're not getting enough in return, for you to come and say, I can save you from this pain for $2,000, hell, that's worth it. We wasted $2,000 last week. Sure. You know what I mean? So it just makes sense. So I would strongly consider that.
Yeah, that was a good idea. Would you have like an idea? Because as you say, it's always easier to sell something for someone that have the pain point that know they have that pain point. Would you have an idea like how to find those people that have accounts that are failing? Because I kind of go into Facebook library and type of stuff, but it's tedious.
What I would do is the same thing that we were trying to talk to Lauren about. I would make a lead magnet, 10 common mistakes that people have in their Facebook ads and how to fix them. And you would say, one is not separating match types. Oh, sorry, I'm talking about Google Ads. Well, you know what I mean? Like another one is, mistakes, right? But just make that the lead magnet. And then say at the end, like, hey, if you're unclear on how to fix any of these things, you should contact me, schedule a call with me. We can go through it. And that's where you can go ahead and pitch that service. But the way you're building your audience is by giving this free information. By the way, here's some common mistakes. And then when they feel like, well, I think we're making that mistake, cool, reach out to you. And then that's how you're getting in front of them. So they'll self-identify themselves in regards to these mistakes they're making. Or, I mean, here's another thing you do too. What I used to love doing is I would go to someone's website, and if they look like they were e-commerce, if I noticed they didn't have the Facebook pixel on there, I'm like, what the hell? I'm like, how are you? So I would just message them and say, by the way, it looks like you're not really tracking conversions, or you're not tracking them properly. And then I would just give them a link, like, here's this information from Facebook on how to do it. Have any questions, let me know. So you could just look at like 10 or 20 brands that you think you might want to work with, just go through their website with like that debugger tool. And if you see any mistakes with their pixel, you would just say, hey, by the way, I added to cart and that didn't fire off. It seems like you're not tracking the full funnel of your conversions. Maybe you're tracking conversions like an actual purchase, but you're not tracking add to cart. That's a good opportunity for you to retarget. So you could just throw your headphones on, go through like 20 websites, find 3 that are messed up, tell them that, and say, hey, if you need help fixing it, let me know. If not, good luck.
That's true.
Yeah. So I know I'm throwing a lot of ideas at you. I like the last ones better.
That's kind of how I do it anyway. It's just like cold, but that's the best way to prove that something is working, is just call people. Do you have this problem? Do you want to pay me to solve it?
Yeah.
So awesome.
So yeah, put some thoughts together on that, and we can check in next week as well. But I feel pretty good about this, just because I know it works, because I've done it before, and my clients have done it as recently as like last month. So it still works.
Got it. I'll try that. I'll try a couple of those. Awesome.
All right. So we're actually right at the 8:30 mark. So I'm going to take off and finally go hang out with my wife, because we've been running in separate directions all day. But it's great talking to you. Great talking to Lauren. And for anyone else, looking forward to talking to you next week as well. But have a good one, and I'll see you again soon. Take care.
Thanks for everything today. See ya.
Yeah, no problem. See ya.